Hi, my name is Pat Woods. I'm the Director of Religious Education at Abraham Lincoln Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Springfield, Illinois. And I'm here with your 4th of July edition, your 4th of July weekend edition of the Time for All Ages. I hope you all had a fun and fabulous 4th of July. I hope it was safe and socially distanced. I know ours certainly was. And I know that during the 4th of July, one of the things that my family and I like to do is to consider history and look back at where we were and where we came from and where we are today. And I think National Public Radio, NPR, did a really fabulous job of that. Yesterday, they played, and I have the link for that down below in the comments, they played a fabulous short video that featured descendants of Frederick Douglass speaking about and reciting portions of his What to the Slave is the 4th of July. And I thought, this is something I think that everybody should be familiar with, because one of the things about living in a country that has independence and freedom, but living in a country that is also having to go through the throes of the Black Lives Matter movement, indicates that perhaps freedom and independence and justice are not the same for everyone. And we have a history of that. And I'd like to share with you some of the things that Frederick Douglass said 76 years, sorry about that, when he was speaking 76 years after the nation had accomplished independence. Now, he said that this is for the purpose of the celebration, the 4th of July. And he reminds people that it is the birth of the national independence, and it is rather like the Passover to the emancipated people of God. And he reminds his audience that it really does take us back to the days of great deliverance, to the signs, the wonders, everything that was associated with gaining independence in that day. And he does say that this celebration is another beginning of a year in our national life. And at that point, the Republic of America was 76 years old. And Frederick Douglass was very glad about that. He said, "I am glad, fellow citizens, that your nation is so young. 76 years, though a good old age for a man, is but a mere speck in the life of a nation. 80 years and 10 is the allotted time for individual men, but nations number their years by the thousands." And I think part of the reason that he was pleased that the nation was as young as it was is because that meant that it had time to grow. And he anticipated, I believe, that the nation would grow. He points out that the pride and patriotism, no less than gratitude, is part of the reason we're celebrating this day and holding it in perpetual remembrance. He also points out that the Declaration of Independence is the ring bolt to the chain of our nation's destiny, and he exhorts us to stand by those principles, be true to them on all occasions, in all places, against all foes, and whatever cost. He certainly acknowledges that the people of the past were statesmen, patriots, and heroes, and he unites with the country to honor them. But he mentions, and this is the important part of his speech, he mentions that above this national tumultuous joy, he hears the mournful wail of millions. And I want to read you what he says. He said, "Those people whose chains, heavy and grievous yesterday, are today rendered more intolerable by the jubilee shouts that reach them. If I do forget, if I do not faithfully remember those bleeding children of sorrow this day, may my right hand forget her cunning and my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. To forget them, to pass lightly over their wrongs, and to chime in with the popular theme would be treason most scandalous and shocking." And he says then, "My subject, my fellow citizens, is American slavery. I shall see this day and its popular characteristics from the slave's point of view. Standing there identified with the American bondman, making his wrongs mine, I do not hesitate to declare with all my soul that the character and conduct of this nation never looked blacker to me than on this 4th of July. Whether we turn to the declarations of the past or to the professions of the present, the conduct of the nation seems equally hideous and revolting. America is false to the past, false to the present, and solemnly binds herself to be false to the future." Now, one of the things that Douglass was referencing, no doubt, was the promise that we're given of all men, all people being created equal. And that promise, as Martin Luther King pointed out, was a check that was written to the American people and was never fully cashed because people of color did not experience the same freedom, the same liberty, the same independence that white folks did. And that's a problem that we're still having today. And that's something I think that we should pause and reflect on. So when you are hearing about the marches for Black Lives Matter, and when you're hearing about calls for justice and equality, remember that that's enshrined in American values. And that's something that we should all strive for. And not just on the 4th of July, but every single day of our lives. I wish you happiness, and I wish you hope, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.